I'm Elisa Mortensen, and this is Undo Redo. Let's take a look at all the things that happen in life that we would like to undo and have a chance to redo. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Undo Redo podcast. I'm really excited about today's topic. But first of all, I want to give a shout out to my class of Fall Undo Redo course of 2024. And I want to congratulate them for making it through to completion because it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, everyone completes it, but the process of it is not an easy thing to do. We ask ourselves to take ownership of how we are showing up in our life. And we all know we're not showing up ideally, right? So leaning into that is very vulnerable. We're all doing the best we can, and we mistakenly feel better when we can blame our situation or someone else around us for not letting us get to where we really want to be. But my students knocked it out of the park, learning the process of how they can change when they own it. We can't change it when we're making it their fault, right? Peace comes when we take ownership of it and we change. So they're equipped now to keep finding all the answers and all the direction that they need within themselves. And I know it's often misunderstood, and I say it a lot. It proves my point, though, this misunderstood point that you know best for your own life. And people are like, well, if I know best, then why am I hiring you? I'm just the one who teaches you the language, your native language of listening to yourself again, connecting to a higher power and listening to yourself. That's my specialty. And at some point, we all get lost. We all get lost, and we need to get in touch back with ourselves. We get lost in the roles of boss, employee, mother, spouse, child, and we can't hear ourselves anymore because we've got to be all these other things. So it just brings peace and clarity to your life instantly to remember that we have an inside voice too, and that we no longer need to be lost. Sometimes we're like rule enforcer. I think that's the one we get lost in most. Like, want to show everyone our rules. Like, I have this rule book for you and you should follow it. And that's all outside of us. And nothing from outside of us brings us peace. So it's quite a miserable existence to go around controlling everything outside of you and blaming everything outside of you. That explains a lot about my course. But the many people that I'm actually coaching right now that aren't in my class, they either have a punch pass with me for a certain amount of sessions to be used up in a certain amount of time, or a monthly membership where they get coached a certain number of times a month, and it's just ongoing with lots of information and classes each month and emails and things like that. So get in touch with me if you want to know what's best for your situation and if we're a good fit for each other. But I'm super excited about this episode. Like, I may or may not say that about every episode. Can't remember. Pretty excited about each one of them as I'm doing it. But today my goal is to impress upon your mind the power found in play. Playfulness is such a huge part of the human development. Think of your childhood. All of our childhood is about expression, creation, being anything we wanted, trying to meet our own needs, being free to use our imagination, pushing up against our own limitations, others' limitations, right? That's what we do as kids. And it's the fastest way to learning. It's the very fastest way possible. Learning through mistakes and play. Doing things repeatedly over and over until we get it, which is amazing that all of us have done this. And we've done it without making it mean that we've failed or that something has gone wrong or something's wrong with us. When you were starting to walk, when you were just little, you're like, yeah, look at me go. And then you fall over and you're like, oh, got to get back up again. But we didn't make it mean like, oh my gosh, something's wrong. I just fell over again. This isn't working. That isn't working. Why can't I stay balanced? We overanalyze it. We didn't have that part of our brain. We just ran. So why are we so caught up now? We're going to talk about it because we didn't used to do everything with a negative connotation. When we were small, we didn't have attachments to these outcomes and expectations that it had to be a certain way. And if we weren't that way back then, why are we that way now? Lack of play. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to show you the power of play just in these few short minutes that I have time with you. What play does is fascinating. But what has happened between when you used to play and now that you don't play, because of all the lists of all the reasons that we don't and all the excuses we make, we've moved ourselves into a place that like things are wrong and the things that could happen. And we carry stress, we overreact, and we give up when it doesn't work right away. We try to cope with it by masking it. We try to numb it to varying degrees with all sorts of things, like scrolling our phones all day, just binge watch and Netflix and get some medications, right? And there's some chemical imbalances and you name it. We're just looking for like the fix. But the topic of play is a pretty powerful one, and it's very underestimated. It's near to my heart because I remember when I first chose intentionally to play after years of being stuck in my own misery. It was in August of 2022. I was feeling really sad, and I had this like desperation to get out of the work situations that I was in and the family situations that I was having. And none of my thoughts were good ones. If you asked me to describe what some of my thoughts were at the time, my story was a pretty bad one. Everything around me was not enjoyable. I was disapproving of all of it and just dissatisfied. So, in that moment of feeling that devastation, I asked myself a question that would change everything for me. And it started to do with, if this isn't what you want, then what is? What do I want family to look like then? What do I want work to look like then? And how do I get it right now today? It changed me. And I changed my life and those around me when I answered this question. I decided right then and there what I wanted it to look like. And it sounded like my husband, my kids, and I to be united together in like love and peace and happiness. And like all of us choose to be that. And then the other part was, how could I get that right now? And that was important too. Well, if this is what I want, like, how do I get that? And what I came up with was to invite them. Well, I want that. So I'm going to go do that. And I'm just going to invite them. That really was my answer. And that's all I did. And I think it's so important that, that's what I went and did. I didn't just want it and sit there and wait for it to come to me and wait for people to choose and wait for others to, for me to convince everybody else and things. I planned get-togethers. I made many accommodations for everyone. I saved money. I spent for things. I spent money on things. I planned fun activities. I made good food. I made some pretty crappy food. I lit up when I saw them, and times I couldn't light up when I saw them because I was so disappointed. I am so disapproving of their, life choices or behavior. I did the work to unblock myself from being divided with them with all of my disapproving thoughts. So I took time to listen to what was going on in their individual lives. I structured get-togethers and food around some of their favorite things. And I let go of all the attachments, like what it had to look like. And what I wanted it to look like instead began to happen. And I think it's really good to note that we had really good laughs. We had really fun times. Some people joined us, some people didn't. And I just kept going at it and kept inviting. And maybe it was like, I wonder what's going on over there. And then they would come. And the open invite was so unifying. And the play and the laughter, you got to see just people let their hair down and have no agenda for each other. It was really something special. So times of togetherness sense. So it's like people being at odds or someone saying one thing and doing another. There were so many differences. There's empty promises still. There's smashed hopes. Right? There's disappointments, yelling, holding grudges. And I want to note here that we've all weathered all those things better because we're able to play than we would have weathered it together without play. I chose to place this intentional playtime in between and all around all these things that happen in life, right? The people being at odds and the fighting and the conflict, right? And then we would go play. And when things got real bad, I'd be like, all right, we need to pick this up. Let's do this. We're going to go. And then we just plan something super fun for everybody to join in on. Whether people want to or not, they're invited. The laughter united us. And the imagination of everyone grew. We got better at getting, creative around the things that we wanted to go do. And it enhanced everyone. Everyone got involved. We wanted it. We chose it. It was fun to see people that we could get in arguments with or just be in a doldrum with in a fun environment. And this is at work and in play. And I know my kids worked with me in my previous business, but this works as any leader. You're a leader in the home, you're a leader in your careers. This works with any type of environment where it just gets into the doldrums and everybody gets nitpicky and there's a stress and a pressure to perform a certain way and follow the rules a certain way. And when there's people not doing it and it gets too heavy, because seeing people in a fun environment allows everyone to relax. It reaches that fun reaches inside of us and it pulls us out of that stressful, threatening state. We all feel kind of threatened with some pressure and it makes us like shrink away. So if we're only ever with those people in those intense situations of pressure and that there's a demand on rule following and performance, we forget the humanity in one another. We forget that fun side that we were all kids once. We all have creative imaginations and can let go and be silly. And we too easily fall into the negative associations and negative perceptions of one another. We start caring more about our judgments because that's all we have to go off of. We don't have like the good fun memory times together. So what we're thinking may not be accurate to their actual story and who they really are if we really knew the whole thing. So the only way to know the whole story is to be in those situations together where closeness just brings rupture in relationships. It just does. But playtime heals it, and connection reinforces the good. So, and there's no rules to this kind of play. I'm not saying go out, to a playground as an adult, which we do, by the way. We play Lava Monster. But, and it's really fun to see the kids as they get older be on top of all the playground, and we make sure there's no kids around. But it only takes about 5 to 10 minutes if you're in a work day to get everybody together, have a good laugh, have a little play, or have some note cards with some funny questions for everybody to fill out and just read them real quick. There's really creative ways to have some fun play. And it's whatever you want it to be, but it promotes a feeling of inclusion and unity, and that we're all important, but we're also all able to make fun of one another within reason in healthy ways, that we're all silly, we all make mistakes, and it just honors the humanity of us all. We're both good and bad, all of us, right? We all have those tendencies. So we're not going to overthink it. You're just going to make it super simple and open it up. If you're over a group or leadership of some sort of, in any way, in any capacity, any leader over, whether it's kids programs or leadership, or whether you're at work and you have a team, or just at home in your family, open the suggestions up to everybody. Find out what ways that they would think would increase the collaboration and the cooperation by play. What kind of play would they choose? And pull on those threads, because each person's going to have a different idea and you want to be able to reach everyone. So in their mind, what would be fun? What would take the load off? What would they like? These are the things you can do as a leader to really tap into changing a culture of a negative energy environment, whether it's in your home or your career. But playing strategically when times are most tough in order to get through is the key to the universe, I think, right? When my family goes through hard times and I have a certain kid really struggling in a hard time, I lean into that with connection, right? I buy a ticket, I get on a plane, and I go see that person. I, pay to take them and their significant other to a fun local, rec or fun center, and we play. But that togetherness increases the connection, and the play and the lightheartedness reminds us that life is not only about our problems. We get too fixated on the problems and the solutions, and we spin the problems all day, every day, but life is not just problems. Life is getting through to the other side of them, not just living in them, right? So if there's laughter and random silliness in a space for it's easy for us to all be ourselves, we grow an appreciation for one another. And it's kept in the forefront of our mind when we do it regularly, that their fun side, their human side, and that we're both good and bad, and we don't just become one or the other, right? We're not stuck in they suck, and we're not stuck in they're so amazing, because we're all both. And especially as the holidays are coming up, it brings more obligation, right? We feel just slightly bit more pressure, but there's equal parts, stress to enjoyment when holidays come. There's room for both. It can be both. It can be both stressful and super amazing. So I want you to hold space for both of those and make them both happen. And be willing to let yourself relax a little over the crumbs and the mess, and not keep yourself stuck in these tendencies and these habits and patterns that you've created for yourself, that you've become a slave to, that you've lost all your agency to, because that's where misery is when we have to have everything be just so and everyone be just so in order for us to relax. I would challenge that, because the crumbs can be there and we can still relax. It seems like I've just said that recently. I'm not sure if it was on the last podcast or if it was in the last class, but where am I at here? Here we are. We all show up better when we're understood. And the reason I want to bring this up is because we have to understand what makes each other tick, like in good and bad ways. And as a parent or a leader, we try first to understand our people, the people that we manage or the people that we oversee, and then we can promote an open environment. The way you lead and the way you understand them really promotes this higher energetic culture and environment that they need, that you can see that they need in order for them to show up better versions of themselves. And that's where we can have the most influence. And play is a really, really important part of this. At least it's the fastest way to improve for all involved. Loosening the grip on the control and the pressure allows them and us to really do our best, because we're all enjoying it, enjoying the process, because there's some enjoyment in it, and we all want to show up. We all want to do better. So I hope this helped you in some way experience the appreciation of playtime. And I think there's no reason to just hold ourselves in an upset and worried and scared place all the time, being stressed and divided and controlling. Those aren't the best ways to get other people on board to perform better. It's togetherness and connection and anticipating fun in the future days together that really motivate people. We feel most supported when, no matter what happens, we can show up for each other in a good way too. Okay, so humanity, remembering our humanity and uniting each other in play gives us a more powerful reason, and we're fueled with a building growth energy and better mindsets and more acceptance and forgiveness for one another. So I want us to shift from avoiding what we don't want and trying to control everything so we never have problems to chasing what we do want. And that's what gets us there. That's what gets us there, is chasing what we actually do want and deciding and planning for that. And then we bring everybody with us. I hope you're all on board by now, because this is a great topic, and it's a very short and sweet but powerful one. And I want you to get on a call with me if you wonder what this looks like in your situation. And I want you to go invite and speak to and bring others with you on this journey. And if you thought of somebody while you were listening to this, please send it to whoever came to mind, because that's how it works. We're all here for one another in all things in this world. And I want you to show that you can be trusted with who came to your mind by reaching out to them and giving it to them and following that lead. So heaven finds us through each other. I love you all, and I'll talk to you either in our sessions or right here next week. Bye.